The truth of the matter is winning sellers do things differently than underperforming sellers, plain and simple. In today's episode, we're going to identify 3 things that they're doing right now that you can adopt to make sure you're in the top category of winning sellers. Oh, it's so good. You're going to love it. Hey, everyone. Welcome to another great episode of the Sales Evangelist Podcast. I'm your host, Donald C. Kelly, the Sales Evangelist, and I'm so excited for another great episode. I'm so excited to be here with you today. And on this episode, we have the one and only Mr. Eric Hamilton coming on the show. Eric and I got a chance to connect on LinkedIn, and we started talking about his book, and I was like, man, we got to bring this man on a podcast. He brings a lot of wisdom, a lot of insights. He has years of experience, not only as an individual contributor, but also as a leader. The thing that I love about him is that the concept that he's telling you is nothing that's going to make it too difficult. Individual sellers like you and I can try and apply these things, but the problem is most times we don't do them. But I want you to listen to what Eric shares and see how you can apply them. If this is your first time listening to our podcast, do yourself a favor and your generation after you, subscribe to the show. It's going to give you tips and ideas that's going to help you to build pipelines, strong pipelines like this episode, and how you can close way more deals than the average sellers. As you apply these things you learned today, I want to hear about them. You can connect with me on LinkedIn, Donald C. Kelly. Let's check it out. Eric, welcome to the show.
Hey, Donald, good afternoon, and thank you for having me. Really excited to be with you this afternoon.
I'm really looking forward to it. I'm excited specifically around this conversation. Like there's some best practices that we all know that work in sales, and oftentimes as sales professionals, we're trying to figure those out, or if we're a leader, trying to figure out what are some of those best things to do. In the challenging economic situation we find ourselves in right now, we want to figure out as much as possible what's going to take for us to win. So I want to get straight into the meat. You wrote a book.
Yeah.
The book is all around winners. Like it's a sales blueprint. What does it take to, what the winners do differently? And I would love for you to tell me, first off, why did you write the book? Because there's so many other books out there. What are you going to say that's different? And then I'd like to figure out what are those, at least 3 things that you feel that winners are doing differently.
Yeah, that sounds good. So again, thank you. I appreciate being on your show. This is very exciting. So I've listened to several of your podcasts. So I think when I think about starting with the why, is why did I write a book? What we do in sales, some of it you would call it natural, and then you got science. Mm-hmm. And so I haven't met many people that said when they were 5 years old, I can't wait to grow up and be a sales professional, right? You just don't see that. Now what I have noticed is there's sales and marketing programs that are designed to help you become better in sales, but they didn't have that back in my day.
No.
And sales was something that you just kind of stumbled in. You just found yourself in and you're like, oh, I'm pretty good at this. And you just kept going. So for me, what I've always done is I've always tried to build something that's repeatable, right? So I don't want to reinvent a wheel. You look at famous coaches or coaches that have a lot of success like Bill Belichick. Belichick built his legacy, again, before or not after Brady. Don't think of this after Brady, but just think about before Brady. He built this process around, I am going to build out a system, and my system has proven to be effective. I can swap out the players, and as long as they give that effort, then the process and what they need to do is laid out. And so what I've seen, like gaps in books that I've read, is give me a methodical approach that I can use, that someone that's brand new in sales can use, or someone that has been a tenured professional for 40 years can use, where it's consistent. It's if I do this consistently and I'm disciplined. Those are 2 key words that I'm going to talk about a lot: discipline and consistency. If I'm able to do those things, then I can achieve success. And so that's what I've seen as a niche. I've seen that as a market. But before that, I wasn't thinking about a book. I was just thinking about, as a sales leader, how do I build out a team? Because typically you come in, you got an underperforming team. How do you build out a team of winners? And it starts with the mindset, right? You can't go into an opportunity and think that I'm going to lose, because your mindset already lets you know I already lost.
Yeah.
So it starts with the mindset, but then it's like, all right, I'm going to build out this process. And so I use the reference in the book of McDonald's. I am currently, I'm in Scottsdale, Arizona today, but I live in Texas and I'm originally from Michigan. If I go to McDonald's in Texas and I go to a McDonald's in Michigan, I am going to get the same type of burger made the same way. The only difference is the personalities of the employees. So that's the process that I wanted to build, almost like a franchise model. It doesn't matter if I'm talking to someone in the East or the West or in the Central, like the process and the interaction with the account executive might be a little different, but that process is going to be similar. There's no reason an Amazon of the world has a completely different experience talking to the same company on the East and the West. It's completely different. Like that should not happen.
Yeah.
And that began the process of, all right, I need to build out something methodical that everyone can use, and we're all going in the same direction, if that makes sense.
It does. What I like about it is like when you have great systems in place, it's very scalable at that point. And we've all made the mistakes, as leaders or as individual contributors. We went in and did our own thing, and we didn't follow the system. And I remember once I was doing pretty good, Eric. I was cooking with hot chicken grease, man. I was making some money. And then I got comfortable.
Yeah.
High on the horse. And let me stop doing the systems. I don't need to update this much in the CRM. I don't need to come in early in the morning. I abandoned the system, and it quickly started to show in my performance. Not that I was like on a pip or anything like that, but I was not at the top of the leaderboard. I wasn't making the change that I wanted. And that, or as I was before, but it came back to mastering and being relentless with that process and with that system. So I also like that, but I got to put a little caveat, not a caveat, I got to go a little derail here. You said Michigan.
Yeah.
What part of Michigan?
Kalamazoo, Michigan.
Okay. I lived in Southfield for a minute.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. I've been in Southfield a few times. Some of my friends out there, but born and raised in Kalamazoo, Michigan. So yes, I do know the Southfield area pretty well.
All right. He knows what he's talking about, y'all.
Yeah.
So,
hey, one thing, if I can chime in on, because I think you brought it up. So that what you just described, a lot of people go through, not just in sales, but in sales in particular, is that we work so hard to get to a certain point.
Yep.
We get there, and then we stop doing what we did to get there. You can apply that to relationships, to marriage, right? Marriages can get still. What did I do to actually get that person engaged and wanting to be around me, right? We're not pulling out the chairs anymore. There's no more door openings. Well, just go back to what did I do to get the person?
Yeah.
Same thing in sales. When we do something and we find ourselves having success, what happens is it goes to our mind. Now we're like, you know what? Hey, Donald, I did this. Like, I don't even need to. I don't need to get up and do. I don't need to prospect for an hour or two. Now, look at the leaderboard. Right? Quarter or two down, all of a sudden you're like, wait, where's my name? Like, what? And the thing about it is you already know what you need to do because you did it.
Yeah.
The problem is we get comfortable and get away from it, and then we're like, well, what do I need to do again? And then it becomes challenging to get back. Just think about losing weight. It's more challenging to lose weight than gaining weight.
Yeah.
But we know how you did it. If you lost weight, you got to do the same thing that you did, right?
And it's that mental capacity though. Like once you fall behind mentally, it's really hard to dig yourself out unless you come back and first, because you can put all the money into it, you can spend all the money on the program, you can do all of the techniques, but if your mind is not there, it doesn't matter. You got to get that. So I love that. But give me three things, Eric. The book is amazing. I wish we can go through the whole thing. You only have 20 minutes. But what are some of the, based on your experiment, your experience with it, your research, what are three things at least that top performers do that differentiate themselves from everybody else?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll keep it really, really simple.
Sure.
I'll start with one is preparation. The second is mindset. Third is execution.
All right.
So I'll go back to the beginning. From a mindset perspective, in order to be successful, you have to see yourself as the best already.
So is that the preparation or a mindset component?
That's the mindset.
Okay.
Oh, let me go back. Which one did I say first?
Preparation.
All right, let me start there.
All right.
So preparation. To be prepared, you're not starting in the morning of the day that you have. Mm-hmm. To be properly prepared, we should be looking at what we have to do days in advance. Like even in preparation for this meeting here, for our podcast, I've been researching and paying attention to the type of questions that you're going to ask days and a week in advance. Mm-hmm. It's not because this is a test. I just wanted to get to know you a little bit better.
Yeah.
That it doesn't take long to just prepare. So we start by trying to just make sure we're identifying what is going into the week, right? Let's look at the week and see what's going on. And then when we start preparing for an actual meeting or a presentation, It doesn't start the day of, it doesn't start the hour of. We should be preparing, scheduling meetings internally, right, with whomever's going to be on those calls with you, making sure everyone knows where they're going to be, what they're going to say, that we walk in like the old school drumline movie, one band, one sound. And a lot of times you don't have that. You'll get an SE and an AE talking over each other, or you get a leader that's sitting in a meeting like this. He's been mute for a full hour. Like, why is he even here? It's important that everybody understands what the agenda is. What's the expectation? What are we trying to accomplish? Those things should be set up before. So preparation is key. And the last thing I'll say with preparation, it's preparation on your side, but it's also preparation on the prospect side. To be able to send out the agenda beforehand saying, hey, Donald, these are the items that we're going to cover for our upcoming call. If there's anything you want to add, let me know. Otherwise, I plan on seeing you tomorrow at 2. Now, I just let you know what we're going to discuss. I've also confirmed if you're going to be there tomorrow. So preparation is key. It starts with that. Nothing moves if you don't prepare. I do have one more thing. We, at this point, we've been in sales a long time now. We can go into any meeting and be okay.
Yeah.
But is it the best version of yourself that you're giving that prospect? The answer is no.
You know, and I what I like about this whole preparation idea, and that's probably one of the first areas to go, to be honest, when you start doing all right. Go back to that scenario I was talking about. Like, it's like, you know, oh, I already know how to prep for this meeting, Eric. I don't want to have to write this stuff out. The agenda, I don't need to do a recap after the meeting or prep. They know what we're going to talk about. They're interested in seeing the software. They're inbound lead. We'll just jump on and we'll take it from there. You know, we've done so many of these together. You can feed off of me. I can feed off of you. But there's you go back. You're right. There is this heightened level of preparation, and it doesn't. And what I found, Eric, like not even just with sales, like you're saying, with anything in life, it's always the little things that makes the absolute biggest difference. And I know that sounds so cheesy, but like I'll give you one. Like for track and field, I did track. You know, I got the Olympics coming up right now. My boys Jamaicans down there, right? You know, but one of the things that you're doing in track is just counting your steps. Like when you're doing hurdles, if you can just make sure you know your steps in between, money in the bank. If you're loosening up just a little bit, you warm up or stretch, it can make such a difference. Like an nth of an inch, like those little pieces make such a big difference in your performance. Eating carbs and making sure, like all these things. But if you start skipping those, like I can perform independent of that. That's when you get into trouble. So I love this idea of preparation, and even with the agenda. Anything else that I can prepare for to make sure I'm doing it well, Eric, when it comes to sales?
Yeah. You know, I would say the things that you can control, right? We think about the sales cycle, we think what we can control. The things you can't control is the person's opinion is if I am the best sales professional or executive in the world. Like you can't control that.
Yeah.
That's how I feel. All right, I feel like this experience has been phenomenal. What I can control is I can be the most prepared sales team person that you're going to interact with, because I'm going to take the time to research your business. I'm going to look at the 10K reports. I'm going to look at the president's message, right? So I'm looking bigger picture. And sometimes you'll get on these calls, you know more about the business, the overall strategy of the company more than the person that you're talking to, a CIO at times, because they're focused on what they have to do, right? They know their particular piece of the business. But when we start talking about, well, you know, the president mentioned this in this report, sometimes they don't actually know that the president mentioned that before. And so, but again, it's coming in. It's not trying to challenge. I'm not trying to tell you all what to do. I'm just simply saying I am going to be prepared when I step into that meeting, and I will know what this company is doing, what they're investing in, and where they're heading. And all this information is publicly available.
And now you become really relevant at that point.
Yes.
Ultra relevant.
Yes, absolutely.
So mindset, how does this lead into mindset, this preparation factor? What do I need to do with mindset? People talk about this all the time, say positive thinking, but let's go deeper with that.
Yeah. So for me, from a mindset perspective, preparation is key. Let's think about this. So you talked about track and field. When you talked about track and field, you came alive. Like you're smiling, you were into it, like you were showing the details. You know why? Because you're comfortable, you understand it, you've done it. So it comes across that way. It comes across that I bet you're passionate about track and field. You knew about counting your steps. I ran track, but I didn't know anything about counting steps and hurdles. So what happens is, from a mindset, if you're prepared, you come across more confident, right? And so if you come across more confident, now we got to think about When you're confident, what is the presence that you give off in the room? I read or seen this TED talk. I just remembered her name and I forgot it again. It's Susie. Oh man, I'm gonna feel bad about this. The second time I forgot her name. Her name was Susie, but here's the point of it. The point of it is it was around positive body language and the importance of it. And she gave the examples of there's two positions, two things from a mindset perspective that you want to do. When you're heading into a big meeting for a female, if you stand in the mirror in the Wonder Woman pose, right, hands on your hip, and you're seeing yourself as a powerful person, you're seeing that what happens is mentally, your mind begins to believe that you are that powerful person. For guys to be able to stand like on a desk with their hands like this, or going back to track and field, what move does most athletes do? Yes, so that's both. Yeah, he does this, but a lot of them are doing this. I can't see all my hands, but they're coming up.
Yeah.
What does that actually mean? It's bringing yourself. It's wide. When you win, you feel excited, and you're making yourself big. Like that's all a mindset, right? When we come across and we're like this, or we're crossing our legs and we look. So when you're doing that, that your mindset is you're coming across as small. So from a mindset perspective, that also starts in the morning. It starts well before the meeting. I do small things. Like I took up meditation or mindfulness. So in the mornings, that's part of my routine. After I work out and all this other stuff, I take 10 minutes that I read on scripture, but then another 10 minutes is on mindfulness. So that's just me and my mind just sitting there, and I'm not thinking about anything, but just concentrating on my breath. What that does, that gets my mind ready for the day. So the mindset, I'll just wrap this piece up. It's important to have that mindset that you are going to succeed in anything that you do, but that goes hand in hand with preparation. If you're not prepared, you won't be mentally ready to deal with whatever you have to deal with.
So I want to go back to that Wonder Woman pose. I may or may not do Wonder Woman pose. My coach, my speaking coach, she was like, I did a Toastmasters back in the days, and I competed
Yes.
at the one fair share of the district levels, and then went to the finals, the semifinals, and it was the championship of public speaking. But one of the things that I always did, man, I'm telling you, she taught me. She said, put that Wonder Woman pose. Just put your hands on your hip, just open up. So I was speaking 2 weeks ago in Salt Lake. Before I got on stage, I was getting that little jitters, and I just went into the Wonder Woman pose. Just had arms on the hip, just like open up, pumped up. I listen to my music, I get my mind right, and I feel like there's a different persona that I put on, that mindset. You're not a different person. It's just that I know I'm going in performance mode, right? So when I'm going to performance mode, that's you got to put that mind in. But like you're saying, if I go on a stage and I'm all sitting down, arms folded and all timid, like I'm not going to give my best performance. I'm not in that mindset, that state of mind to be able to execute and give that. But yeah, man, I agree with you. And even just like the idea of just, open up big, but you just you gotta get in that confidence. And physically, we need to, if we start doing those things physically, it will help us to get into that belief again. Because if I go with the timidness and I'm all fold up and I'm sitting back and chilling like that way, the brain is not necessarily in that start mode, or my subconscious isn't in that start mode. But when I do the physical act, it helped me to get in that mental state, and I think that's what you're getting at to some level, right?
Absolutely. Once you feel like you have that confidence, and that confidence also comes from preparation, though,
Yeah.
right? They go hand in hand. If you go on that stage for public speaking, you don't know what the heck you're talking about unless you're an improv professional. It's going to be challenging. It's not the best version of you, right? Can you do it if you've taken public speaking for years? Sure. If you put a microphone on my head, yes, I can talk, but it's the best version of myself. Like that's what it comes down to. A lot of people in sales, they're charismatic. And they feel like because I'm charismatic, I don't need to do the work. Because I'm charismatic, people like me, right? And I know how to engage with people, so I don't really have to work hard. And at some point, I'm going to go a step further. I coach a lot of kids sports, especially my youngest who's sitting across yonder. So there are plenty of times where you'll see kids that are talented at a very early age. And over time, other kids will catch up to him. And you're like, wait, he was so far advanced over as an 8-year-old, then 14. Well, what happened is this particular person let his gift or his talent that he didn't really work for, he was born with it, he didn't work at it. And then you got this other kid that didn't have as much God-given talent, but he worked at it over and over and over again. And all of a sudden, they're on the same ground. It's the same concept. Is you got to put that work in. The work in is preparation. It's doing things when no one else is watching, not during practice, not simply just during team meetings, but I'm putting in that work when no one's watching, because watch when they see me, it's execution time.
See, that leads right into the next piece, but you mentioned this earlier, the discipline and consistency.
Yes.
And I can see how those all align as a top performer, which will go right into this. Let's hear it. Execution.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that? How do I do this effectively?
Absolutely. So if we do the basic things, if we prepare like we are the best, which is we're the most prepared sales professional in the world, that's how we're going into this. If we have the right mindset, we're going in positive, we know what we're going to say, we understand the company, so now our swagger or the confidence is coming across. Now it's time to execute. So then you start getting to the meeting. I got the team prepared. Everybody knows what they're going to do. But to have an actual things of this is how, I'll give you an example. This is how we're going to kick off the meeting. A lot of times we'll jump on a meeting. Now, these are pet peeves for me. I'm pretty calm, but pet peeves that will start me tapping my fingers and stuff like that. If we jump on a call, let's say we got 30 minutes for an introduction call. And the first 5 minutes is, let's say I'm the AE. Hey, I'm Eric Hamilton with such and such company. Looking forward to our conversation. Donald, you want to go next? Hey, this is Donald. Hey, I am the engineer. Okay, hey Peggy, you're going. Yeah. Oh, hey, yep, you got Peggy here. We've wasted 7 minutes of not doing anything. And then top this all, Donald. All right, thanks. So, hey, if you wouldn't mind, you all introduce yourself, talk to the prospect. Yep, hey, this is John. I'll go first. Blah, blah, blah. Who's up next? Oh, hey, Sally, you're 15 minutes into this 30-minute call, and we just simply walk through some introductions.
Yeah.
How are we going to have an effective meeting if that? So from an AE perspective, we have to control the outset, control the meeting from the start. Hey, Donald, looking forward to our conversation. Walk through some introductions. I'm Eric Hamilton. Let me introduce my team. Blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. This is a first-time conversation, right? And then control it from there. Here's our agenda for today. These are the things that we're going to talk about. Does that work for you? Fantastic. All right, let's go. And we're jumping into it. We're learning more about them. But we're controlling from the beginning of the meeting. So when we talk about execution, something just as simple as the start of the conversation is how we do it. And I'm going to skip over the meat of the conversation, right? Let's get to the end.
Yeah.
Understanding how to close and move on to the next thing. It will just like get my blood boiling. If we get to let's say we got 30 minutes, right? And we're 2 minutes away. All right. So, hey, so let's jump into some next steps here. All right. So we've talked about this today. We're out of time. You didn't get to the next steps because you tried to make the transition with 2 minutes left. That transition needs to take place 8 to 10 minutes before the end of the call. Okay, so now we've talked about this. Let's talk about next steps. And then we lead them to what the next steps are. Especially if we're just doing a discovery call. We're leading them. We're letting them know what the process looks like. We're telling them this up front so that there's no surprises. Communication, when we have a communication breakdown, it's usually Donald is expecting one thing. I'm expecting another one, and we're not on the same page.
Mm-mm.
So now you're like, wait, I was expecting a demo today. I'm like, no, demo's the second meeting. It's important for us as AEs to be in command. We control, but if you're not controlling it, then they're open to just guessing what's going to happen. So those are small things around execution. We got to start the meeting the right way, control it, and then we have to end it the right way. It has to identify the next steps. We have to understand certain aspects of the business. Everybody's business is a little bit unique, but there's still fundamental aspects. We need to understand that paper process, the decision, the timeline, like all these things. Let me pause there, Donald. But I'm just going to say that's basic execution without even getting to the meat and potatoes.
No, this is great. I think it's fun. What you're given is some of those very tactical pieces, and it's not that we didn't go, like you said, we didn't go through how to execute like that disco or anything like that. But when we ask what were some of those top things that top performers do, it's fascinating. You put that as one of those pieces. But I can easily see why. It's a simple one about the agenda, and then also about making sure you're executing properly. And then the last piece, that next step, I love that you identify a time slot, like that 8 minutes. In the top of what I learned over the years is, like, in the top of the disco is to help them recognize that beforehand, like you said in the agenda. Here's where we're going to stop. We're going to stop at this point, because then we're going to talk about what works. And if it doesn't, and if it doesn't make sense from what you learned, then, so be it. We don't partner, but we've done this. We're the professional. I'm the guide. You're going up Mount Everest and you've never climbed it. I've done it 17 times.
Yes.
This is the process that we go through. Sounds cool? All right, let's get some snowshoes on. Let's go. So, but I love that. I love that execution, man. Come on, man. Eric, listen,
yeah, man, that's fun.
We could jam for a minute, but I'm sure people want to go check out the book now. You got them all excited, that big old smile, and your passion and excitement. How do we go get the book? Where do we go find the book?
Absolutely, sir. Again, it's the Sales Blueprint: What Winners Do Differently. And it's available on my website, which is the salesblueprintforsuccess.com. That is the salesblueprintforsuccess.com. It's also available on Amazon. If you just look up the Sales Blueprint, Eric Hamilton, it will pop up on Amazon.
Boom. Guys, put that in the show notes. I'm looking at it right now. It's a beautiful cover. Got man here in the suit, looking great. I highly recommend you all check it out. We got a link down in the show notes so you can get access to that. We got to make sure we prepare. We got to have the right mindset. We got to execute. If we're consistently doing these things in discipline, magic will happen. We can't wait to hear from you. Eric, thanks for coming on the show, man. Appreciate you.
Absolutely. Thanks for the opportunity, and look forward to our next discussion.
Anytime. Ooh-wee! That was my boy Eric. I'm telling you, the stuff was great, and I want you to apply them. I want you to go ahead and connect with me on LinkedIn, Donald C. Kelly. Go ahead and find me right now. Don't follow, just send a connect. If you want to, you probably see the thing to say follow me. Click right next to it, the 3 dots next to that connection, and then you can put connection and send a message. And let me know you heard the podcast thing, connected with me and Eric. Or just send me a message. I'd love to hear from you. And speaking about connecting, our sponsors are giving amazing offers, and I highly encourage you to take advantage of them. They're going to help you not only in your sales efforts, but also going to help you move forward in your career in any aspect of selling. So as always, I want you to thrive. I want you to succeed. Check out Eric's book, a link down in the show notes just for you. You can find that and take advantage of connecting with him as well on LinkedIn. I want you to thrive. I want you to succeed. Most importantly, I want you to raise your level of thinking, and I want you to go out and do big things. See you on the next one.